Jana was looking at her houses and saw that the last attempt to get out was not successful. It seemed that she had thought everything through, calculated everything, but nothing worked out. Everything went wrong all at once. There were no people in the village who could help her. The money ran out before everything was completed to her satisfaction, for reasons unclear. Probably her hurry and hope for an avos once again played a joke on her. They offered her to buy out her own idea, but for such ridiculous money that Jeanne just wanted to burn these houses, so they didn't exist. And certainly she didn't want to watch someone else profit from her ideas. It was a waste for her to get involved in this also. Who doesn't want to live better? She noticed this village when she was still wealthy. She came here on a friend's advice. There were some healing springs here that few people knew about. That year Jana was constantly sick. As soon as one thing ends, another begins. She lost weight, weakened. She was no longer interested in work. Then she recalled her friend's words that the air and water here would resurrect the dead. Gradually, business in the city was fading. Who knows why? Maybe she chose the wrong niche, or maybe there are just too many competitors. But Jeanne decided that while she had the chance, she needed to change her field of activity. It calculated everything. She just didn't account for one thing, that everything in the world could change during construction and preparation. The first thing being the prices. Joan sat down on the porch of her house. Although she managed to bring him up, but what's the use of him now if there's no money to maintain such a dominatrix? There is no money even to finish the houses. Advertise, buy all the necessary things for the first time. Hello, Jana Igorevna. Take a rest. An old lady passed by. She lived nearby. We liked to chat with her. Jeanne, on the other hand, didn't really welcome such idle chatter, but she behaved politely, occasionally even answering questions. By the way, in the village, Jeanne was considered arrogant, rude, and haughty, although not without reason. Years in business made her like this. She didn't trust people, had no friends, and never started a family. Hello, yes. Jen turned away to avoid further conversation. She didn't want to talk, neither with the neighbor nor at all. Grandma, shaking her head, moved on, and Jeanne started to get ready. Today she was leaving for a week. She needed to go to another city. There was a prospect of borrowing money at a very small interest rate there. She needed to find a competent person, calculate everything with him once more, then decide whether to get into something again or not. The agreement was very unclear. She had already taken out the bags when she felt someone was watching her. That's all she needed. Someone is definitely waiting for her to leave. I was thinking about hiring a guard, but as always I forgot. Jeanne spun around sharply. A fairly young man stood before her. Well, about 40, no more. Perhaps if he shaved his beard even less. A girl of about 4 or 5 years old was holding her hand. Hello. Before answering, Joanna even looked around. Is she hallucinating? Where did they come from? Hello. The man hurried. Please forgive us. People on the bus hinted that there is construction. Work here. You wouldn't have work for me, would you? I'm skilled in many things. Jeanne looked at the child questioningly. The man understood everything. Don't worry. I didn't steal her. She's my daughter. I'm raising her alone. A ballerina. The doctor said it's necessary to move to the countryside for at least a year. So we're looking for a place to hide. Jeanne gave a sad smile. Well, not everything is rosy for me. I got a job. Ran out of money. So I'm unlikely to be able to help you. The man looked at her. Listen, we can, as they say, help you with something for your blood. Do something. I know construction and electricity. You can stay. I have a big house, and the fridge is always packed. Live here, you will give it a guard, and when I get back there, it'll be clear whether I need a worker, or I'll sell all this to the damn grandmother. Selling? But why? There are places like this. I have read a lot about them. That's why I brought my daughter here. You won't be short of guests. Yes, indeed. Everything is as you say. I only found salvation here myself. Well, it didn't work out for me. While all this was being built, everything became so expensive that now... Sorry, there is no one to connect the sewerage. The wiring. Oh, Jeanne waved her hand and grabbed the bag. I need to leave for about a week. Totally forgot what I had to find, so if everything suits you... The man reached into his bag, handing her something. Here, take it, so you don't worry. Jeanne saw the passport, smiled. I don't generally trust people. But now I thought it's time to change. How do you manage without a passport? What if something happens with the child? The man smiled. I've heard so much about you on the bus. I was scared to approach. But you're completely different. My name is Dennis. Jeanne, the keys are on the kitchen table. Feel free to make yourself at home. If anyone asks, I'll be back in about 7 or 8 days. Joanna ruffled the girl's hair, smiled at her, received a broad smile in return, and went to Mashtine. Just a day ago she would have laughed at anyone who said she would leave the house to a complete stranger. And now she left quite calmly. She felt that nothing would happen. Everything's correct. But if it happens, she's not worth a dime as a person, as a businessman with such intuition. The trip didn't just go badly. It went so poorly that all you could do was laugh, even though it depends on how you look at it. Considering that she found a little sense in herself not to screw up, it can be said that this is a success. Joanna smiled sadly. She was just entering the village. The evening had long descended on the street, and it was about to get completely dark. She tried not to look at the lake, where her beautiful houses stood. She had grown so attached to them, put so much of her soul into them, that the mere thought of having to sell them was unbearable for her. No matter how hard she tried, she still glanced in that direction and abruptly hit the brakes. In 3 houses, real electric light was burning. There simply couldn't be, because there were no wires in those houses. It was lying in one of the houses, not even opened. While Jana was digesting this, her eyes darted further. It was sheer fantasy. Right behind the houses, a dock was built, quite large, enough to stroll and have a coffee on it. Tables were standing under umbrellas. According to her plan, the pier's fencing should be lit by lanterns. Didn't even get to the fence, let alone the lanterns. That's it. Now not only was a fence set up at the dock, but lights were shining all around. Someone was digging around them. Joanna decisively turned the roll. After all, we need to figure out what's happening there. Jeanne drove up to the houses, turned off the engine. Soft music was playing over the dozer. She involuntarily froze. This is her favorite band. Well, it's just mystic, nothing more. But Joan didn't believe in mysticism. That's why she got out of the car and went towards the man who was rummaging around there. She took a few steps, then stopped. It was Dennis. She had completely forgotten about them. And there's the girl, sitting on a chair at the table, looking at something on her phone. The child's wrapped in a blanket like a cocoon. Only arms and face are sticking out. Joanna was looking. Unclear. What is this? He did all this on his own? That's impossible. Because she was calculating how much it would cost her to call an electrician team. Hello, Dennis. He turned around and smiled with his 32 teeth. You're back. Hello? I decided to do something. At least something. Yes, I thought to do all this I have to sell a kidney. Dennis laughed. Jana, these are trifles. I connected my floors there and we left with my daughter. In general, you can move in. How can you drive in? Joanna felt a timid hope stirring inside. But the cottages are fully prepared to receive guests. Ah, no, I'm lying. One is still not finished. The roof was somehow sloppily put on. It's leaking in one place. But that's a few hours of work, I hope. They wandered around the houses for another hour. More and more, Jana was understanding that this man, whom she considered accidentally left in her house, became her savior, neither more nor less. The girl was in his arms. Jana saw that she was tired and nodding off. Come to me. Let's go home. The girl smiled, crawled over to Jana. She handed Dennis the keys. You'll be able to pick up the car and we'll be here straight. He revealed his white teeth again. Of course. Is it hard for you? No, not at all. How can such a wonderful thing be heavy? Joan wouldn't even admit to herself that she wouldn't now give the child to him. The girl trustingly snuggled up to her, and she was so comfortable, as if she had always held such little girls in her arms. They were sitting at the table. As soon as Masha had eaten, she fell asleep. Dennis immediately carried her to bed and said, You know, I can see how much better Masha is. She sleeps all night. In the city she used to wake up 10 times. She's got an appetite, although all bruised and scratched. Here it's either a frog that needs to be depicted, or a rooster that needs to be chased away. In general, they run around all day. I'm so grateful to you. Joan waved her hands. You're crazy. I'm the one who's very grateful and in general. Just a few hours ago I was saying goodbye to my idea. And now I realize, together, we will break through. Dennis, I propose you to become my partner. We'll discuss the details later, but I won't try to cheat you. There will definitely be enough for a good life with Mashka. He looked at her in surprise. Are you serious? But I didn't do anything like that. You've done more than you could. You didn't let me get disappointed in life. After the first vacationers arrived, it became clear that they had succeeded. People were ecstatic. Not only did they feel better, they regained strength in just a few days. They also helped the locals well, buying from them at a high price everything that could be eaten. Natural food for people from urban slums was a real godsend. It was already autumn. When the season was coming to an end, Jana was sitting on the pier with a cup of coffee. Someone sat down next to her. She knew it was Dennis. Jana, we probably will go. She got so scared that she couldn't hide her fear. Where? Why? You have business here. Dennis sighed heavily, looked at the water. I'm going to say it all now. Just don't interrupt. I am really struggling. Never thought it could be so hard. You're a businessman, and I'm a stray dog. I can't do this anymore. Not even for this, but because I can't be with you. Just can't. I can't even look at you, let alone do anything. In a different situation, of course, I would have shared my feelings, tried to win you over, but I'm on my own, so to speak, without a home, without a yard, and with a child. Allow us to leave. I don't need anything, I'll just go. Jana didn't turn to him, so that, God forbid, he didn't see her smiling with a foolish, happy smile. Dennis fell silent. There was silence for about 5 minutes. Then she started talking. I won't let you go. It's not even up for discussion. And if you do leave, I'll drop everything and follow you. I always thought I was only created to work, but now I will drop everything without hesitation to be with you. With you and with Mashka, you know. I also didn't know how to express my feelings to you. I even thought I would never speak because I don't like you. Dennis carefully turned her around, looked into her eyes for a long time. A very long time.
Jeanne, you...
Is all this serious? Not so that I just stay? She laughed, meaning I can't cope without you. I'll shake it off now. Dennis smiled. Please crack so that I understand that this is not a dream. And now I hug you. Maybe I'll kiss you better. For a long time, the last guests of the cottages could see two figures sitting, hugging, and quietly looking at the water. Nobody disturbed them. Sometimes you just need to be silent, feeling the shoulder of a loved one next to you. If you liked the story, I really hope for your support with a thumbs up button. Thanks, and all the best.